This video clip that you are about to hear is from Pastor Lanny of Fellowship of the First Resurrection Israelite Ministries. He is talking about the origins of the Mende or the Malinke people of Mali, as well as the Soninke, and this is going to be very important for what I'm about to bring out.
Thing in North Africa, where you have a Mediterranean climate on the coast because they're in the Mediterranean, and then you have mountain ranges, and then once you pass the mountains, you're in the Sahara Desert. When the Israelites first started migrating, the ones we're dealing with at first, they went to near the river Niger. That's where the extreme went, like the furthest went with these first groups going out. Other groups, though, settled in the mountains, like the Atlas Mountains and other mountainous regions of the Sahara, and others settled in the oases of the Sahara. The Hararitan and part of the reason they got their name in Hebrew, because they're Israelites too. Look this stuff up. Comes from this Hararitite mountain dwellers, because that's where they were dwelling at first before they got pushed out again by Berbers and Arabs and stuff that pushed them further south. Okay. Next, we want to deal with the other key term was Negiza Zeta, Nehushtan, and I have /Apep and Beta. So this might confuse you, but let's talk about it. Okay. So as you're going to see further as we go on in this lesson, that before the Soninke converted to Islam, they were practicing paganism and they were worshiping a snake god. You'll find that out later in the lesson from primary source, because we're going to go into, I'm going to read the traditional story of the Soninke ancestor, and you'll find out, and it deals with Beta, the snake god. Okay. The Israelites, which the Soninke are Israelites, before there was a branch of Israelites that were worshiping a snake god in Israel in the Bible, okay? And the reason, and it was called Nehushtan, which means brass serpent. And you can find this Strong's Hebrew H5180. The Neginza Zeta is because that is the Mesopotamian snake god. You can look all this stuff up on your own time as well. Fact check everything I tell you. I mean, I would. I'm not here to mislead anybody. But anyways, that was the name of the Mesopotamian or Babylonian snake god in ancient times, okay? And like I always say, all the pagan religions of the ancient world are just recycled versions of the ancient Babylonian pagan bunch of Israelites who started worshiping the snake god, and it's just a continuation of this. When the Soninke migrated and when the Mende people migrated into Egypt, they were allowed to still continue worshiping that snake god in the form of Apep, which is the Kemetic version of the snake god. All right, and just to show you proof of this, because remember in the last slide I was telling you about how the Mende people first left Israel circa 700 BC, and that's when then they migrated into Kemet. And from there, later they migrated into Nubia or Kush or Meroe. And then from there, they migrated to West Africa. Let's go into the Bible real quick and get the precept for that. Let's look at 2 Kings chapter 18. I'm reading 2 Kings chapter 18. I'm going to start at verse 1. And this is the King James Version as per usual. But 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the 3rd year of Hoshea, son of Eli, king of Israel, that Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, king of Judah, began to reign. All right, remember, Hoshea is the last king of the northern kingdom before they get taken into captivity by the Assyrians, which took place in 722 BC. And like I always say, remember, the kingdom of Assyria, which is really just ancient Mesopotamia, was founded by Nimrod, who was a Cushite. All right, verse 2. 20 and 5 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Abi, the daughter of Zechariah. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that David his father did. And I want to add a caveat. When it says that he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, those of us who believe in the Bible, like me, that's my religion. I'm a Bible believer. And so I study it. You will know that pretty much all the Northern Kingdom kings did not do right in the sight of God. They practiced paganism and did all kind of abominable things. With the kingdom of Judah, it was 50-50. It's like half their kings did right, half their kings didn't do right. Hezekiah was one of the half who did do right in the eyes of God. Verse 4. He removed the high places, and the high places were just the groves and the places where the Israelites were practicing Canaanite religion. I'm pointing this out because I've had a couple people when I did the lesson on the Yoruba be like, well, are the Yoruba Canaanites? Are, descendant from Nimrod? Because an ancient Babylonian Canaanite religion. We're going to read from a primary source proving that. Okay, and you can jot this down if you want. It will also be on the reference page at the end. All right, now remember what we're about to read. This is a primary source, first-hand account from the 1700s. And we're looking at the part where I have marked because this came from the actual book too as well. But even so, on account of the blacks' carelessness and negligence in all religious affairs, their religion remains so murky and unrecognizable that you could live among them for many years without noticing that in the form that the Negro's forefathers have practiced it, it has in it something of Judaism. Yeah. As well as the old Chaldean fire worship. Our Akaras more than any other nation, and the Akaras, those descend from the God people in Ghana and modern day country of Ghana. They're Israelites as well. They live near the Akan people. Their numbers are just not as large. This would include the Akan people too, because I think by the 1700s, the Akan people have become dominant in the area of Accra. Anyways, our Akaras, more than any other nation, are close to Judaism in their ceremonies of circumcision and those in relation to the slaughter of sacrifices, when they must saw away at the throat of a cow, sheep, or other creature with a sharp stone, and never use a knife, since that would desecrate the sacrifice. At Benin, both of these religions are very recognizable. So he's letting you know, and Benin was further away. I've covered that before. It's in Nigeria. That's where the Edo were. And he's also saying over there that was these same type of practices were noticed. Okay. And I've done lots of lessons on the Edo before and their Bagadu. In the early 12th century, a number of small independent Soninke states emerged to the south of the old capital. Soso, ruled by the blacksmith Kante lineage, emerged as the most powerful. The Malayan epic of Sundiata portrays King Samoraro Kante as a cruel sorcerer. Sorcery has a common connection to blacksmiths who turn metal ore into tools and weapons, and an enemy of God. The epic of Sundiata Keita has become the national epic of Mali, and it claims that the ruling family, the Keita, descend from Bilal, the Ethiopian companion of the Prophet Muhammad. All right, around 1230, Sundiata was able to defeat Samararo and establish the kingdom of Mali. His general Taramakin Traore conquered much of West Africa to the Atlantic coast, beginning the widespread presence of Mende peoples. In general, Malayan rule took the form of vassalage, and the original ruling elite maintained local power but paid taxes and recognized the authority of the Malayan king. Thus, Sundiata took the title of Mansa, meaning King of Kings, which his descendants continue to use. The Keita rulers moved the capital from its original spot in Kaba, south to Bamako to Timbuktu on the Saharan side of the Niger River in order to better control the trans-Saharan trade. Mali remained rich and powerful into the 15th century, when the Songhay king broke Mali's control and was able to take the province of Mema. The Songhay were based in their capital, Goa, or Gayo, further east along the Niger River. And in 1469, their king C. or Soni Ali Berry conquered Timbuktu. The Kingdom of Mali broke up into numerous small states centered on major cities such as Ségou and Noraro. The Mende of Sierra Leone were expelled from the Kingdom of Mali sometime shortly before its fall, and by 1540 had established an independent state in the Cape Mount area of present-day Liberia. Following the collapse of Mali in the 15th century, a number of states emerged, and Mende often formed the ruling elite over other ethnic groups, such as the Galwar rulers of the Serer kingdoms of Sin and Saloum in Senegal. In Liberia, the Mende spread from their base around Cape Mount in the 17th century and came into conflict with the Temne and eventually gained control over much of what is today Sierra Leone. Mande or Mande controlled states in West Africa were slowly conquered by the British or the French starting in the second half of the 19th century. And so that's a brief overview of the Mande. And the source for all of this information is the first source on the reference page. The Timneh people that were mentioned, the Timneh people are Israelites as well. They descend from Judah. You can even find Timneh was one of the descendants of Judah. You can go look that up in the Bible on your own time. Timneh people were also brought to the New World as slaves. I focus mostly on dealing with the roots of the United States because that's where I live. Some Timneh were brought over here as well, but because of I lumped them into the Mande grouping, even though they're not a Mande people, because when they were brought over here, they were under Mande influence, and so they got lumped in with them anyway, because they were like the cultural similarities and things that were going on at the time would cause that. So you had and the Timneh, a state that they went to here a lot was South Carolina. Yeah, I'm just giving you more information, learning something on.
Let's begin to summarize what Pastor Lanny said, as well as do some more teaching and linking to tie everything in. Now, the pastor began to map out how in 1700 BC that the tribes of Judah went into West Africa. It is very important to remember that a lot of these Jews were known as Elephantine Jews, and he began to state that they continued the worship of the brass serpent. It's also important to know that the Elephantine Jews continued the worship of Anat, who is a Semitic war deity, alongside Yahoo. When we begin to look at these Elephantine Jews and the house of Judah in West Africa, whom the Ethiopian Jew Bilal began to convert to Islam and create the call of prayer, we will see that the northern kingdom Israelites were being taken into Assyrian captivity. Now we remember that in the Bible, when we talk about Nebuchadnezzar, there also was a call of prayer that Daniel and the quote unquote three Hebrew boys would not participate in. Could this be Islam mixed in with paganism? Let's begin to take a venture into the northern kingdom Israelites who were not only taken into ancient Mesopotamia, but Sephardim or Spain. Now we know that Corona, Spain, was first inhabited by the Sephardic Jews. We have already learned that the Portuguese are the blackest of the Sephardic Jews. We know without a shadow of a doubt that the Huguenots are known in France to be hidden Moors. We know that in Spain, the Moriscos are the Sephardic Jews whom were forced to convert to Islam and still privately practice the Jews' religion. This is why it's important to know that the word Moors and Berber did not just belong to one group of people. When we begin to look into the Yoruba, whom are self-identified as the Beni Ephraim or the sons of Ephraim, we will see that these people can blend right in with the tribes of Judah and Dan that we see in the Mali, the Chad, the Niger, Congo. When we begin to mention the Akan from Ghana, the Akara, we know without a shadow of a doubt that these are from the tribe of Judah. We begin to look at the Dahomey, who carry on also this serpent worship. We know that these are the tribe of Dan. And we know that the Dan people and the Fon people were also seen in Timbuktu. Now, when we begin to even look into the Caribbean, we should also know that the Akan and the Dan people are seen majorly in the Caribbean. The pastor began to mention Sierra Leone, and we know that the Creole people are descendants of the Haitians and the Igbos, who the Haitians say in Creole that they are Igbos. When we begin to look at the French Indians, these are red Igbos. Now we'll begin to look at the Yoruba. They are known to speak Maharabi Arabic, which we know for a fact is spoken in Morocco, Mauritania, and a mix of quote-unquote Negro speech. This is an Afro-Asiatic language. When we look further into the fact that these two are Sephardic Jews, the same as these French Huguenots, these Moriscos in Spain, and these Sephardim, then we will begin to see that skin color is not what makes someone an Israelite. Now, the pastor began to talk to us about the fall of the Mali Empire. Let's begin to look into one tribe in particular that I began to come across in Mauritania and Morocco. And they are called Blackamoors, as well as Black Berbers. These people are known as Ghanawa, literally Ghanawa or Gwana. And these people came from sub-Saharan Africa into Mauritania and Morocco as slaves. Their name in Berber literally means the black people. They are started to be called the Black Moors in Mauritania and in Morocco. What if I begin to tell you that these people have an oral tradition of descending from Bilal? It is historically proven that these people are from Chad, the Senegal, Nigeria, and Mali, the same as the Soninke people. Let's take a step further and look into the Hawaiite people. Now, I haven't done as much deep digging on them as of yet. Now, I just wonder if there's a correlation between them and the Soninke, since there is great similarities between them and the biblical Hawaiite people, that the Soninke, the Mali, the Mende began to descend from. So I hope that we learned something together on today. And another Hebrew nugget, when the pastor began to explain that they were in the Mediterranean or in North Africa, it is very important to know that Italy is in Northeast Africa, and this was inhabited greatly by the Moors. If you begin to look at the flag of Sardinia, it's literally the Moors' flag. Let's continue to line up on line, precept on precept, here a little, there a little. So yes, the ancient Israelites became Moriscos, Moors, Berbers, converts, and originators to the call of prayer. They were seen alongside Muhammad, which is why in the end time, these same tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Dan will stand up alongside the Dajjal and some Islamic tribes, as well as some Edo, Idoma, and Igala, who are known to be Edomites. They will go to war, the sons of light and the sons of darkness. This will deeply map out Psalms 83. And then you will also see how those Cushitic and Hamitic kingdoms that's mentioned in Psalms 83 have correlation to this as well, and the ancient Egyptians. And this is because the Nilo-Saharan speaking people of today were your original ancient Egyptians. We also want to remember that the Oromo Ethiopian people are also known to be strange people. They are seen among the tribe of Dan, and they have an oral tradition of coming from Queen Sheba and some correlation to the Ethiopian Jews. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Thank you so much, Pastor Lanny. And I'm clearly losing my voice. This is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Food for thought.